I'm so proud to be here with you today. I've kind of been a little absent from the Western Slope for the last 10 years, but I can tell you, driving over here, I love this community. And I love this regional approach to solving one of the most difficult problems we have ahead of us. But we need to do it, right? It's imperative. I want to thank every one of you, the sponsors here today. Summits like this would not be possible without investors and without people that really care about the communities in which they live and work. And we just thank you so much for your investment in this important summit. And this was said earlier today, but I am so happy to be in a room with problem solvers. I doubt that you would give up your entire day if you didn't think there was something you or your company or your people could do about the affordable housing crisis. So thank you so much. I think Hannah said it best, we're all in this together. Gail shared a little bit about my background, but I'm going to share a teeny tiny bit more. I was told I had my first job in construction at age 3 when my father paid me a penny a nail on his job sites. And I should have known, as the only girl in the family, I was destined to be in the building business because I used to steal bricks off of his job sites and build little houses as early as age 5. So you could say building is in my blood. But being a Coloradoan, and I say I have dual residency in this state, half of my life on the Western Slope and half of my life on the Front Range. So I literally have a very unique perspective. My mom hails from the farm community of Montrose and my father from San Luis Valley. So I've touched every corner of this state. All right, we all know we've been in an affordable housing crisis in Colorado for decades. For those of us who are old enough like me, we know that somewhere probably around the 80s, late 80s, affordable housing began to slowly dissipate. And in Aspen here, you guys were the epicenter, right? I heard that earlier. You were the epicenter. We said back when I was building in Battlement Mesa, the billionaires were pushing the millionaires down valley, right? And so we have seen this problem just worsen throughout the decades. All right, guys in the back, I'm ready for that first slide. Thank you. All right, you may think, what does Apollo 13 have to do with the affordable housing crisis? Well, most of you, some of you may not be even old enough when this movie first came out to know what I'm talking about, but in Apollo 13, this is a perfect metaphor, right, for a problem that was impossible to solve. Impossible. But somehow, through mission control, the work of the astronauts, and think of Ken Matley that was left behind, right? If he wasn't left behind, but those astronauts got back home safely. But I want you guys, I'm going to refer to Apollo 13 a few times throughout my message today, because really, this is what is ahead of us. This is not easy work. But after hearing all of our amazing panelists this morning, which, by the way, give them a shout out. If I had to be on that side of the fence, I'd be going back and probably crying in a back room somewhere. But you know what? Being a builder and developer for many years, I knew we were always building to the market. When the market was up, we're building developments, we're putting in homes, we're meeting the market need. And guess what? In affordable housing, there's never a lack of a marketplace, right? It's just how do we deliver it? All right, and I'm going to try, sorry. Yeah. So I'm here this morning. Gail, thank you so much for asking me to share the story of Hope Springs. And I actually have 2 Weld County developments that I will be sharing with you that have delivered will be delivering in 7 years over 600 affordable units to northern Colorado. So it can be done. And we're going to talk about that more as the message goes on. All right. I was going to try to do this up here, but all right. One of my favorite quotes is, success is achievable if failure is unacceptable. And again, we've learned how difficult all of these problems are. You know, there are so many. And the regional approach is a great way to start to solve it. All right, but I want to rest on this for just a minute. Sorry. Failure is not an option. It's not. It's not an option for your children, for your grandchildren, for future generations. The most difficult problems, think about Apollo 13, right? That was destined to fail, but they didn't. Through mission control, through the scientists, through every engineer. I love the part in the movie, remember, when the commander said, get every engineer, get every single person that built anything on that plane, get them in this room right now. And failure is not an option. And it's not an option with the affordable housing crisis either. All right, so how are we gonna tackle these difficult problems? I love the work that Roaring Fork Habitat for Humanity has already started here. When I left the Western Slope, there wasn't much going on here in the way of affordable housing at all. In fact, Battlement Mesa was the affordable housing community. And even there, when I retired from the custom home business there, an average home on the golf course was touching $750,000. Yes, we did have lower priced products, but the one thing I loved about Battlement Mesa, there was multi-income, diversity, there was housing for all in that community. And I'll talk about that a little bit more here also in a moment. All right, you guys, you've had a lot thrown at you today, a lot of information. So I'm gonna give you guys a chance to let your mind rest. Just let it rest for 1 second. Maybe even if you're like me, if you're ADD, you might have to close your eyes. But I want you to just take a moment and dream your dream community. What does it look like? The last panel that was up here, in Greeley-Weld County, we serve 97% population other than white. Other than white, 97%. So I want us to just think for 1 minute, clear your mind of every obstacle. Quit thinking about how much money it'll cost, the lack of land, the zoning challenges you will have, but think about that just for a minute, and we'll come back to that. All right. Now, as I start today's message, I want to make this very clear. What you do in Aspen would be vastly different from what I do in Greeley, or what you do in Parachute, or maybe Rifle, or Vail. Every community has its own unique needs. And what I'll share with you today is just one model, but I think you will see the basic principles will align with any community. So what I'm saying, when this is over, don't just run up and tell me all the ways it won't work. Just kidding. Just kidding. All right. All right. All right. I think it was the gentleman from the Aspen Valley Hospital that said, I love when a community reaches they finally realize this. They've reached a point where enough is enough. I thought that was such a good philosophical thought. Enough is enough. Those of us like me who've lived in Colorado our whole life, when I was a young woman in the banking business, it took me 3 years, but as a branch manager of a tiny little branch in Clifton, Colorado, I could save up and buy my first home. Can we do that now? Can young people, young families do that now? Anybody in this room? No. Where did we hear about young people living in the basements at their parents' homes? Again, this is unacceptable. Just like Apollo 13, I love when the commander said, it's unacceptable to leave those men up there. We are not going to let Americans die on our watch. And if you think affordable housing isn't a life and death issue, then think again. Because I can take you to communities where it absolutely is. And I think the pandemic demonstrated the inequities in housing in ways we never could have understood without the pandemic. I watched my essential workforce, my construction workers, my restore employees go to work every single day, despite the risk to themselves and their families. Where's the equity for them? During those days, there wasn't much, was there? All right. I'm getting a nod to keep moving. All right. So let's talk about how we're going to solve these inequities, these problems. I loved the approach I'm hearing in this room today. It takes partnerships. Partnerships are essential. And I'm going to talk about the partnerships we put together for two of the largest Habitat for Humanity developments in the state of Colorado. And as I said, this was kind of seeded a few years ago. The very first one is our Mission Springs community. And when I came to Greeley-Weld Habitat 7 years ago, one of the things that actually just destroyed us was seeing the need in our community and basically only being able to build 3 to 5 homes a year. Unacceptable. Unacceptable when we saw the need walking through the door. So I was very fortunate. Those partnerships I talk about, I had a brave board of directors. I had a brave group of stakeholders that said, and this was pre-pandemic, that said, we are going to do something big. We're going to do something to take a bite out of poverty housing in Weld County. And keep in mind, Weld County is 4,000 square miles. We're not talking a small geographical area, so much like what you're working on here. We started first in Mission Springs, but prior to that, the one thing I loved about Greeley-Weld that they had done long before I came there, do you know they had the largest single-family Habitat for Humanity development west of the Mississippi since the early 2000s. It was a 60-home village where neighbors help each other build their homes, watch each other's children grow up, celebrate graduations and births together. That is what community does. And that's what we grew up in, right, Gail? A community that watched out for each other. So we set out to develop Mission Springs. We were seeded with $3 million from disaster relief money that was returned from other Habitat affiliates. Do you recall the 2013 flood? Anybody here for that? Raise your hand. Devastating, right? In Evans alone, where this community on your left is found, alone, over 200 homes were destroyed. And the state reached out to me, knowing my development background, and said, Cheri, we want to see a very prescribed development, 2/3 rental, 1/3 ownership, because a lot of the rentals were destroyed in that flood. But they put out an impossible task, and I'll go back to you Apollo 13 fans out there. Just because it looks impossible on the surface doesn't mean it's not achievable. They said you have to spend this $3 million out with a private sector partner, LIHTC partner, in less than 9 months. Anybody here in development? How long does it take to get a development done? Not 9 months. You can't even get anybody, the engineers and the architects, to agree at 9 months, right? But you know what? We were also focused on the goal of delivering this much needed affordable housing that the coalition of partners came together. The city of Evans, my engineers, my architects, everyone, just like those scientists and just like those astronauts worked together. And in March 2020, we pulled up a backhoe. March 2020, what was going on? That was the first time we landed on the dirt. We didn't even know the pandemic was coming yet. We had heard whispers. But if you think that was an obstacle to my team, it wasn't. And I am so pleased to tell you now, this 95-unit development is now 80% built out. Yeah, less than 3 years. All right. So that spurred us on to our next project, because whenever you have a win like that, people take notice. And Greeley's like, oh, we can't let Evans outdo us. I hope there's a little healthy competition in this room too. Cheri, we want you to bring that model and bring it to Greeley and put it on steroids. And I said, yeah, well, we need to do something about your development code, because Evans gave me all the variances I need to do smaller lots, to do water-wise and climate-friendly development. So I sat down with the city of Evans, and city of Greeley, and we rewrote the entire city's development code. And today, that has positioned us for some of those first rounds of funding with ARPA, because we didn't know the pandemic was coming back then, but we were positioned because our code was already in line with what they wanted to see. So that brings us to Hope Springs. And Hope Springs, just to give you an idea of the partnerships, I have local up here, but use the word regional in context. It took municipalities coming together. And that's county, that's other municipalities working together. So we got rid of those border lines that sometimes separate us. We had land, sorry, I'm gonna have to kind of come over here a little bit. We had local land planners, engineers, architects, community members at large. Most importantly, guys, the future residents, the people who were going to live there, the Marias that we just saw. They were at the table planning this development with everybody else. We included our investors and stakeholders because you know what? We could come up with the most beautiful, wonderful development, but if our investors didn't see the validity in a development like this, what good is it? It stays on a piece of paper. And then educational communities. And I'm going to talk a little bit about a workforce training youth program we started 7 years ago that is part of also solving the affordable housing crisis. But one thing I love most about Hope Springs is the amenities. When I was in private sector, what did we want? We wanted all the best things for our children, right? We wanted walking trails, we wanted playgrounds. I am so excited to share with you that even the Colorado Rapids local professional soccer team is involved in this project. They are going to be building this beautiful mini pitch field. And think about when I just said my international families, the majority of our families that we serve in Greeley come from other countries. Peru, Ecuador, Somalia, Eritrea, Myanmar. We are a melting pot. We are a multicultural, diverse community. And just like us, just like our ancestors that came across that great ocean and started the American dream here, we owe it to anyone that wants to build the American dream. And so soccer. Soccer is the sport, right? And so I already see these children out there playing in their native countries. They could be at war. Lowry, my development director here, will tell you, we have residents side by side who were at war in their native countries, and now one family's children babysits for the other family. Talk about building world peace. And this is not just a Pollyanna moment. This is real. This also, Hope Springs, is walkable. It is a 3-minute walk to the grocery store. A major employer, let me see if I can get to the, let's see. Well, anyway. A major employer backs right up to this, some of the finest schools. And what we want is a community that we would all want to live in. And dispel what? Not my backyard. If you build a quality community with quality products, with amenities, you will want us. You will want us in your community. Because what did we hear all morning long? We need a place for our workforce. They deserve, those essential workers, the teachers, the firefighters, the EMTs, they deserve a place to raise their children. All right, who's the accountants in the room? I gotta have some finance people. I can feel your blood already, like, yeah, this is a lot of money, Cheri. Yes, it is. It is a lot of money. And it's probably even more in your area than it is in Greeley. But here's a yardstick of the different stakeholders that have come to make Hope Springs a reality. Just the infrastructure and the land acquisition of water is way more expensive on that side of the mountain. In fact, northern Colorado is the most expensive water in the state. We're looking at $70,000 for one share of water, which will deploy on one home. So you may pay more for your land, but we pay a lot more for our water. And I serve on the Water and Sewer Board for Greeley, and I'm not just pulling these numbers out of my hat. This is what people are paying, developers are paying. We are fortunate to bring together stakeholders from federal level, so all the way from U.S. Senator Hickenlooper, CDS award that also Roaring Fork got, so yay for Roaring Fork, and Greeley-Weld. JBS, they are the world's largest protein provider, and about half of our families work for JBS, by the way. The state of Colorado, we were recipients of the largest, one of the first Catalyst grants coming out of the chute because we had done the work with the city of Greeley. I'll get back to Richmark here in a minute, but as you can see, we pulled together different partners from across the sector, including, I don't know if there's any CDFI or banks, I know there's some banks in the room, right? Where are you going to put that CRA money? In projects like this, right? Yeah, these are good investments for your community. And then what do we do with that money? We reinvest it right back in your community. Okay, so we will reinvest over $100 million with this project right back into northern Colorado through our land construction and new construction dollars. That's a good investment for $25 million. Now, granted, we got to raise $7 million to build out this community for the vertical construction, but we've got that covered. All right, so between these two communities, again, over 600 units, 600 in less than 7 years. Yeah. And Hope Springs was a name we came up with a long time ago, Lowry did, and we didn't even know what that was going to mean to us until just a few years ago. But it's partnerships, people. That's what makes it happen. Across the sector, everyone coming together. And then deliver those quality products. Because if you build a community and you don't put quality products in that community, again, you will revert back to that NIMBYism. At Greeley-Weld, we build zero net energy, water-wise. Again, communities rich with amenities. ZNE homes save our families on average $2,000 annually. And that means if a mother needs medical care for her child or needs to take that child to the dentist, she has some money and savings to do it. I got to move along. So anyway, this is our value of mixed incomes. Don't segregate people and populations according to color or income or race. I encourage you to move back to the days that when I was a little girl, the shoemaker and the banker lived a block away from each other. And again, let's relook at this whole strategy we use for housing. As I said, be solution-driven. Partnerships are key. Innovative land use and housing products. Involve our community stakeholders. Be persistent. I can't tell you how many doors I got slammed in my face. There was a lot. But we kept working at it. And we are where we are today because some people opened those doors and said yes. And you guys be the catalyst for the change in your own communities. If we can do it in little old Greeley on the plains, with the brain trust in this room, I can't even imagine what you guys are going to be doing 5 years from now. All right, I have just a few minutes to share another part of solving the affordable housing crisis. My father's plumbers and electricians, their sons were my plumbers and electricians. And what I saw as I was exiting my time and getting ready to retire out of the home building business is that nobody was coming in. I sat on the school board of District 16 down in Garfield County, and what I saw is a huge void. 54% of our students weren't going on to college, but I had six-figure jobs. My contractors had six-figure jobs for students that didn't need a college degree, and they were entrenched in generational poverty. So we set out to build the first of its kind model called the Construction Pathway Program. And what this model is, where we attack underserved populations in our school district, the students that are on the cliff. Before I get to that, we all know the need. Do I have any contractors out here? Are you fully staffed on your job sites? Do you have to pull back on an activity on your job site because you don't have a contractor to get there that day? It happened to me over and over and over again in the custom home building. There are jobs, over 500,000 in this industry, waiting for workforce. So we created this program called the Construction Pathway Program. It's a community partnership. The idea, long-term sustainability. Because if you build something just like these communities, if it's not sustainable, why even bother? Why be a one and done? So it's pathway for workforce readiness, a community-minded generation. That's what I love most. When I ask our students, 7 years now going, why are you enrolled in this program? Okay. They say, because I want to help a family who needs a home. It's not about them. Most of them come from families that frankly need to be living in a Habitat home. And it will and has created positive and lasting social change in our community. I'm going to have to flip through all these because I have, 2 minutes? Okay. So you can go to our website. I think Gail has provided the link to this program. So I am just going to click through these because I told Gail I'd be done in 28 minutes, and I don't want to disappoint her. But anyway, our students come to us with that 0.8. Those of you in education, you know these students, 0.8 GPA, 98% are on free and reduced lunch. And they were starving for an alternative way for educational success. And I can't finish without sharing these stats with you. I'm going to have to flip through that too. Sorry, Lowry. Yeah, it's all good. Again, you'll get all these on the website. But the takeaways here, they get dual college credit. So one of the things, I have a CMC person in the room, yay! Okay, one of the things I love is dual enrollment at our community colleges. And these students who were once 0.8 GPAs now graduate with close to half of their associate's arts or science degree in construction management pathway through our local community college at Ames. Even better, take a look at that attendance rate. 100%. That's 500 students. Now, if this doesn't give you an Apollo 13 moment, I don't know what does. All right. 83% employed in the construction field. And look at that stat below. Attendance for our students went up from average 37 to 87%. All right. Lunch and Learns, the best thing ever. Students come out, potential employers work with the students all day. They learn about career opportunities, and the business partner gets an idea of the difficult challenge our students face, and the students find out there's a community that cares deeply about their success. It's nothing but a win across the board. All right, I love this phrase in Apollo 13, work the problem, right? Work the problem. It's like math. Oh, some days I hated math, but I birthed 2 math girls. But we work the problem. Be brainy. You have to be thoughtful. You have to be intelligent. You can't just, there's another line in Apollo 13, he says, I don't want your guesses. I don't want those. We're going to work this problem until we come up with a real solution. Be bodacious. Dream big. You guys, this is a big problem. Why not dream up big solutions? All right, gotta go. Be brave, believe you will succeed. And just thank you so much. Thank you for this time.